I know I said I'd be doing Resident Evil 4 next, but here's the thing. Recently I joined a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament league at my local comic book store, and that got me thinking about not just how to improve my skills with the card game, but the various video games released for the franchise. But before I get into the subject of this review, down there, I think I should give those new to the series a quick rundown about what this is all about. Yu-Gi-Oh! Got its start in 1996 by Japanese manga artist Kazuki Takahashi. No, he's not related to Rumiko Takahashi of Inuyasha fame, and first saw the light of day in the weekly Shonen Jump magazine. Kazuki Takahashi said he wanted to create a manga hero who didn't use his fists or other weapons to defeat his enemies, hence the use of the various games, the most popular of these being a card game that we in America came to know as Duel Monsters, which Takahashi created based on his love of another card game, Magic the Gathering. The card game was meant to be just one of the various games played in the series, but fan reaction to the game was so overwhelmingly positive that it became the main plot device, as well as getting its own real-life card game produced by Konami, which is probably the only time I won't be saying certain two words about that. Fuck Konami. In September of 2001, Americans got the anime based off of the manga. Well, the second anime, actually. We never got the first anime based off of the first 6 or 7 books, and just started off with the anime that kicked off the card game. At first, there were no set rules, so throughout the first season, we could overlay a certain song and it would fit perfectly. Let's try it out.
Bounce a graviton particle beam off the main deflector dish. That's the way we do things, lad. We're making shit up as we wish. The Klingons and the Romulans pose no threat to us, 'cause if we find we're in a bind, we just make some shit up.
It wasn't until the second season, the Battle City tournament, where the official rules of the real card game were introduced. So if you want to use the anime as a guide for how to play the game, start with this season. Right around this time, in 2002, Americans also got our first Yu-Gi-Oh! Video game, Forbidden Memories, released for the PlayStation. Oh, how I remember this game. Let's see if it's still as fun as I... Fuck! It's not. There's a lot of things that factor into this game being, well, not very good. I know it has its fans, but please hear me out. We'll begin with the plot. Our story opens up in ancient Egypt, taking the role of the nameless pharaoh who sneaks off to go play in the dueling grounds. While there, he meets his friends who are the pre-incarnations of Yugi's friends Taya and Joey, as well as the priest Seto, yes, it's Kaiba. After playing a few rounds, the young pharaoh returns to the palace, which is being attacked by the high priest Haitian, who's in search of the Millennium Items. After losing to Haitian in a duel, the pharaoh, out of desperation, breaks the Millennium Item in question, the Millennium Puzzle, which also steals the pharaoh inside the item. Suddenly we're in the modern times where it's revealed that Yugi has been dreaming the whole thing. Yugi and Joey are entered in a Duel Monsters competition run by Seto Kaiba. Considering that we got this game before Battle City aired, despite the fact that fucking Yoshizu Ishtar is here, I doubt that he's after the 3 Egyptian god cards. But anyway, Yugi plays a few duels, going through Rex Raptor, Weevil Underwood, Bandit Keith, and My Valentine, before taking a break and meeting up with Shadi, the keeper of the Millennium Items. Shadi uses his Millennium Key to send Yugi into the puzzle where he meets the Pharaoh, who's feeling a little homesick. He gives Yugi 6 blank cards before sending Yugi back to the outside world, and after dueling with Shadi, Bakura, Pegasus, and Ishizu, the cards are filled with the respective Millennium Items. The key, the ring, the eye, and the necklace. After dueling with Kaiba, Yugi gets the Millennium Rod card, and then we're back to Egypt. Inside the puzzle, the Pharaoh's mentor, Simon Moran, tells him about Yugi. Moran uses his powers to free the Pharaoh from the Millennium Puzzle so he can go after Haitian and his 5 Dark Priests and not only liberate the land from his rule, but also acquire the other 6 Millennium Items. The Pharaoh eventually finds, duels, and defeats Haitian and Seto using the powers of the Millennium Items, but it's not quite over yet as there's one more duel to be played against a guy named Dark Knight, who kills off Haitian for thinking he can control him. During the duel, Dark Knight mutates to a creature called Nightmare, but the Pharaoh still manages to defeat him and takes his rightful place at the throne. And that's it. That's all there is to the story of this game. It's really not much when you think about it, honestly. And it's not the story that makes this game, well, not very likable. No, it's the way you play the game. Let me elaborate. As you might expect, the main focus of the game is the card game, but if you think you will be playing by the official rules, you're wrong. Like the first season of the show, you can play whatever monsters you like without the need for a sacrifice.
That's good.
Unfortunately, when you start off the game, you're given some of the worst cards in the game.
That's bad.
You can unlock more powerful monsters using passcodes with real-world cards or winning them in duels later down the line.
That's good.
But in order to actually purchase them in the game, you'll need a fuck ton of star chips, which means you'll be doing a fuck ton of grinding in order to get them.
That's bad.
Can I go now?
Another way you can get the more powerful monsters is to fuse some monsters together, and you don't need a card like Polymerization. Keep in mind that this is long before they introduced the Synchro or Xyz summons. You do this by selecting two monsters and seeing if they're compatible, but if not, you're out one card at a minimum. You'll never know if any cards will work with each other without tons of trial and error. And because you start off with an incredibly weak deck with very few supporting magic cards, expect to get your ass kicked. A lot. Oh sure, your first duel with Henshin is one of those that you're supposed to lose, but when you get to the Kaiba Corp tournament, you don't get Yugi's cards. No, you're stuck with the ones the game gave you unless you somehow manage to unlock Yugi's cards either through the passcodes and the actual cards or through cheat codes. Because of this, even the most pathetic duelists like Weevil will absolutely destroy you. Fortunately, attacking and defending is pretty rudimentary if you've played even one duel of the card game. Using the shoulder buttons puts a monster in defense mode, and you're given the choice of putting a monster face up or face down. Monster effects aren't used in this game, but much like Synchro and Xyz monsters, this is at a time before there weren't as many effect monsters in the overall metagame. Each duel starts off with 8,000 life points as opposed to the 2,000 or 4,000 in the anime, and just like in the anime and the card game, winning all depends on who can reduce their opponent's life points to 0 first. Or if someone runs out of cards to draw, then each duelist can only have 40 cards in his deck. Musically speaking, I've heard better, but I've also heard worse. I get that the music is supposed to be going for that tribal Egyptian sound, but god does it fail. I think I'll stick with some of the tunes from the English dub, thank you very much, which by the way is one of the only good things to come out for kids, though given their resume that's not saying much. Man, I'm so glad that the later games will fix the issues this game has. For the most part, looking at you, Duelist of the Roses. But that's for another time. This game, honestly, I think should only be picked up if you're an absolutely die-hard Yu-Gi-Oh fan, or if you want to increase your PS1 collection, but otherwise, stay away. It pains me to give a negative recommendation to something that could have been shown so much promise. I've done that before with games like Bionicle and Sonic 06, and Power Rangers Super Legends, but to be perfectly honest, I think the only way to truly play Yu-Gi-Oh is with the cards. That said, I think I'm going to go play a few rounds with someone, and I'll see you next time with Resident Evil 4. For real this time.
Life's just a game. We all wanna win. Keep your hand a secret. Unleash the monsters within. Sometimes it's over before it's even begun. If someone else gets hurt, then what have you really won? I'm always one card short, always one day late. For once I've loved and everything I can celebrate. Stack the deck myself, so there's no one else to blame. I need just one more move, one final chance to prove I can win this game. Not just a duel, that's how the world is made. But are we really players, or are we being played? I'm always one card short, always one day late. For once I've loved it, ending I can celebrate. One more thing.
Blah, card games, blah. Blah, 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 attack mode, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah.